Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
Oh, man, rapid fire is always better on a win. So on Win Monday, it's always better to do some rapid fire. So let's hit this.
Before we start, I just got a text. Brian wants to make sure that we remind people 7 o'clock start time for Upon Further Review tonight, live on the YouTube channel. So you know where to go.
People are here and ready, baby.
As well. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
They're ready. You're going to have to get out of this show and then go to that one. But I have faith in the intelligence of our crew.
Vince is going to be in both. So the other one's not starting until Vince gets there.
Yeah. So. Good point.
Fill in the blank. Marcus Freeman's pregame and postgame emotion Saturday night was blank.
It was friggin' awesome. But that's what you brought him in for. And I realize if they had lost that game, people would be giving him a hard time about all that. But that's who Marcus Freeman is. That's his personality. That's his persona. It's not an act like some coaches, hint, hint. It is who he is. You see it every day at practice. I've seen it when he's watching his kid. You know what I mean? That's who he is. He was genuinely fired up for that moment. I love that because he is who he is. So I think it's fantastic. I love having him at the head of the football team that I root for and cover.
I loved it. And I didn't realize until afterwards when I saw the stuff tweeted about the stuff he was doing in the tunnel when he was, clapping and waving to the crowd, let's go. Let's go. Bring it on,
man.
And he talked about it today.
Up?
Yeah. He talked about it today where it's you've got these young offensive linemen who are making their first start. We're standing there and it's okay, it's on me. You don't have to worry about this. This is on me. And that's what you want from your leader, right? And at the same time, it's not like Marcus Freeman is just a stark raving lunatic on the sideline during the game. He knows how to compartmentalize and keep his emotions in check. And that's part of what makes him such a great leader on the sidelines is he is able to keep that in check.
Yeah.
Not everyone is able to do that.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great point that you didn't see him all crazy on the sideline. Okay, now it's time to work. It's okay to be fired up when you're coming out of the tunnel and you're getting excited and all these other things. But when, between the lines, so to speak, he was all business. And that was awesome.
Oh, wrong one. Comments are coming in fast and furious tonight. I can't I think I'm clicking on one. And Josh says, Marcus is jacked this summer and ornery with some of the fresh acne. Definitely finishing cycle. Well, I don't know about all that. I didn't see the last part when I started that up. I will say it's like you notice it looking at him, this whole workout regimen that he's on right now. He is pumping that iron, man. It is very noticeable. You could see it, even though he's wearing the navy blue on the sideline. It's he is. Oh, yeah. He's having a hard time controlling the gun show there on the sideline when he's wearing that stuff. And you can see it when he's at the press conferences as well. By the way, he had a pretty sweet little. Did you see what he was wearing at the press conference
today? I did not. No.
You have to go back and check that out. It was a nice little look that he had going there. Fill in the blank. After one game, the hiring of Loren Landow is blank.
Well, I think, gosh, I don't even know when I said this because there's so many shows on the weekend now that the season has started. But there are plenty of media people that have been just praising Loren Landow, all of spring and all of fall camp and all this other stuff. It's you have no idea what you're talking about. You get to see these guys walk out of the locker room. They should look good. These are high Division I athletes. They should look fantastic, right? So in my head, I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's all well and good. Let's wait to see what happens when they go down to Texas A&M. I'm ready to give my props to Loren Landow, at least for this game, because he had these guys ready to go. And you have to also add in there the sports nutrition people, the sports science people, all of those. As a unit, they were second to none because A&M players were dropping like flies and nobody from Notre Dame was having any issues. And so they were clearly the better team in the fourth quarter. They were better conditioned. They were better hydrated. They didn't cramp. All of those things, every box that you want to check was checked. And so I will absolutely give him credit right now. Wasn't ready to do that before, But after seeing what they did in the fourth quarter, check, right? And the next milestone for me is how do they look in November, December, and hopefully January? That's the next hurdle to climb if you're the strength and, all that stuff. So right now, Loren Landow's doing fantastic. We'll see how it goes moving forward.
Yeah, and that's why I said after one game, I'm not ready to crown him. I'm not getting out of my anointing lotion just yet. But look, D-Troll Hunter says don't overreact because it is one game, and I completely agree with that. But all those things that you just finished with, all anyone wanted to talk about is the Texas heat. And how are you going to make it through the Texas heat? It's hot down there in Texas. And how are you going to last? And it's the Texas A&M players who are down on the field cramping up. It's not the Notre Dame players.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with the conditioning that Loren Landow put them through. Now, as you said, you do have to credit Notre Dame sports performance staff and the hydration. Obviously, they had a really good plan in place. Xavier Watts played every snap. I think it was 70 snaps for Notre Dame, safety, the other night. Benjamin Morrison played the second most snaps on defense, and Adon Schuler played the third most snaps on defense. Those three, now they're not down in the trenches like the defensive linemen, but they're
still running around.
They're running all over the field. Those are guys in the secondary, and they played the most snaps on the defense. The other position groups were obviously able to rotate a lot more. All five of those offensive linemen played every snap out there. Riley Leonard played every snap. Andy's a runner. Like, you didn't see any of those guys cramping up. There were no issues. And a large part of that goes to what the conditioning coach is doing.
Absolutely.
Again, all these questions about, well, he had to leave the Denver Broncos and all this different stuff. I mean, one of the biggest questions that anyone had going into that game was how Notre Dame's bodies would literally react. And they reacted very well. Now, over the course of the season, are they still performing at that level in November, December, and January? That's going to be the ultimate test. But like I said, the question was, after one game, how do you feel? Feel really good right now.
Right.
The long-term marathon test is what has to be answered now.
Yes.
So during our Countdown to Kickoff show, Jesse brought up the interview that Marcus Freeman did last week with Barstool Big Cat about analytics. And the question was apparently, I still haven't heard the full thing, but the question was apparently, you're down by 2 touchdowns at the end of the game. And do you go for 2? Do you go for 1 point? It caused a big stir with the lovers of analytics, the response that Marcus Freeman said, because he said he's going for 1. He's not chasing the points and going for 2 points. So at the press conference today, I asked Freeman about analytics versus trusting your gut, how you balance those things as a head coach.
You have to have a pregame plan, right? We just talked about it going for 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. I have to have a pregame plan, but there's also a gut feeling that you have to make as a head coach. And some of that can be the momentum of the game. Some of them can be where you're at, home or away. There's a lot of different things that kind of go into your pregame plan, but also your in-game decision-making. My man Big Cat, that was his name, right? He didn't agree with me to kick the extra point. He didn't know where the stadium. I'll get into that later. Me and him, we have another conversation coming up soon, I'm sure. But, the analytics are the analytics, right? We have the book. Sometimes I agree and disagree with the book. Again, the book, I said it after the game, would tell you to go down. I'm pretty sure in J Love's situation, the same thing as Duke. But you have to make decisions as a head coach in that moment. Do you want to tell J Love in the huddle, hey, go down if you break? We're just trying to get a first down and stay in field goal range, right? And I didn't want to put that on his brain and go score. And I have a belief in our defense that we'll be able to stop them.
So there's Marcus Freeman. Carlos says he heard me ask the question and I sound different in the media session. I will say when I'm transcribing and pulling the cuts afterwards, I sound different as well. But Vince, you and I sided with Marcus Freeman before we knew how he answered the question. There's more to the game of football than just analytics. And, we had some people on the YouTube, responses coming at us about what rubes we are because we don't get analytics and all this different stuff. And my
really?
whole point is there's more to coaching football than just the numbers. And if you don't believe me, as I said then, ask Brendan Staley, because he became the head coach of the Chargers because of analytics, and he got fired because of analytics, because he had no true gut feel. So, like, when you hear Marcus Freeman and his explanation for that and just the whole thing, what do you think, Vince?
I completely agree. I've never subscribed to the fact that if you're an analytics person that you have to go by analytics 100% of the time. Like that's stupid. Then why do you even have a human being as a coach? You should just have a book out there and you plug it in and you just go with whatever the book says. Like, exactly what Joshua says here. He said analytics are a tool, is a resource, but sometimes you have to make a call according to feel of the game. That's exactly how I would use analytics, right? I used to carry around a card in my wallet that would tell me if I ever had to use it. Like, if you're down by
like
this,
you go for
go for one,
and
you go for two, like whatever, right? I have since gotten rid of that in my wallet, by the way, but
not quite as necessary anymore, right?
I had it in my wallet for like 15 years, and I don't think I remember ever pulling it out during a game. But at the same time, it's good to have that, because look, a lot of things are going on in a game, and you like to have, whether it's somebody in your ear or whether it's, something on paper that you can just focus on and kind of shut out the noise. So I like it as a piece to the puzzle, but it's not always the answer. Right. So if the question is you're down by 14,
you still have to trust how the game is going, what you need to win the game. That's like, you still have to trust, like in Marcus Freeman's case, the man's 38 now at this point. He's probably been involved in football for somewhere around 30 years of his life. Right. He played at a high level. He played at Ohio State. He played in the NFL. He's obviously coached Power 5 and he has to be able to trust what's between his ears just as much as what he trusts on some spreadsheet someplace. Right. I like DK's response. So we watch Brad Pitt win baseball games with analytics.
Not in the playoffs, you didn't.
No, that's right.
Just saying.
That's right.
He did win a lot of baseball games.
That's would analytics have told Marcus Freeman to go for it on 4th and 1 at his own 33?
It's a good question.
Early in the second half.
You know who I'm hoping told him to go for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2? Mike Denbrock. I would trust him a heck of a lot more than I would a piece of paper and a bunch of stats. You know what I mean? Like, I would also trust Riley Leonard, because he's the one that's probably going to have the ball in his hands in that particular situation.
No, but it also sends a message to your defense that you trust them. Like, you're not going for it at your own 33 if you don't trust your defense. It sends a huge message, and look how the defense responded in the second half.
At 100%. And by the way, I think he was also sending a message to the offensive line and, and the young guys on offense that, by the way, I also have faith in you. Okay. Because after that, right, he went for it twice on 4th down in the first drive. Then the defense comes out and they force A&M to go to turn it over in 4 downs. So on 4th down, excuse me, it wasn't in 4 downs, but on 4th down, because they ran it for 0. Then there was a missed tackle that turned into a 1st down, but then they went 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, 4th down, out. So shows faith in the defense, shows confidence in the offense. I think it spoke volumes to his team as a whole that they were going to be able to do something and that he has faith in them. So it was absolutely the right call to me, even though in the end he didn't get it. Even though he did get it, it wasn't a game defining situation.
Mike brings up the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series in analytics. I mean, if you can find a Tampa Bay Rays fan, ask them how they feel about Blake Snell coming out of Game 6, because that's what analytics told you to do, right? Like, do you ride with Blake Snell because he's dominating, or do you pull him because the book says now's the time to get him out of there because he's been through the rotation and all this different stuff? You still got to trust your gut. You still have to trust what you've seen with your own eyes, and that's a huge part of it. And someone brought up the fact that Big Cat's a degenerate gambler, and I think there's probably something to that as well, because gamblers go for 2. You're right. But, like the thing about going for 4th down as well is Marcus Freeman making that decision on the opening drive of the second half, all of a sudden, Mike Elko's going for it on 4th down 2. Marcus Freeman pushed Mike Elko out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Elko is like, I've got to do this too. Like, I think that was the part of the result of that. Like, Mike Elko decided, well, I can't just sit here and stand pat. I've got to start doing this too. If he's doing that over there, and I don't think that again, like as a defensive minded head coach, I don't think that's probably where Mike Elko wanted to be in a couple of those situations.
Right. Agreed.
So ESPN sideline reporter Holly Rowe literally got to go inside the helmet during Notre Dame's game against A&M. She was able to listen in on the communication between Irish offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock and Riley Leonard when Leonard was on the field. She got to use Leonard's basically his backup helmet. So here's a little bit of Holly Rowe during the broadcast the other night with the helmet up to her ear.
Riley Leonard's backup helmet so that we can listen into the communication system that the quarterback is hearing right now. I've listened to Coach Denbrock give him those commands, and they are very short and efficient, an economy of words. He will give him tempo. He'll remind him of down and distance. I'm trying to listen in right now, see if we can get the play call. Typically, they're cutting it off at about 25 seconds. Now, they have to cut it off at 15, but they are giving Riley a little time to process, call the play, and let his fellow linemen know what's happening. I'll keep you posted on what I hear next.
I'll tell you what, you talk about trust. Holly's down there with a helmet listening to the plays.
Well, the play-wise quarterback keeper as Leonard rolls to his right. What do you make of it? I mean, these guys are quarterbacks that haven't played a ton of football. It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, but I think they've gotten so many reps, And, Holly's dialed in there. She's getting a call here. He's got till 15 seconds to be able to get the communication. If you get up quick enough, Holly, he can talk to him right now. Tell him the coverage. Tell him what to look at.
Okay, he just cut it off. See how much time they're giving him to actually process before the play. Not everyone's going to do it exactly this way, but I love that he's reminding him of down and distance and tempo plus the play clock.
So apparently Carlos was not a fan of that. I don't know if you remember it when it was going on in the game, Vince.
I remember.
What do you think of the whole thing?
I remember thinking it's a bunch of BS. I want to be able to listen in on the helmet. Why does Holly Rowe get to listen? And why is she so special? I give me a headset. I want to listen to what Mike Denbrock is saying and Riley Leonard. Why does she get to listen? I was very jealous. I didn't think it was fair, but I did like the insight as to the fact that Mike Denbrock is not using all of the time to talk to Riley Leonard. He's cutting it off early, and then he's allowing Riley Leonard to process what he sees. Because I think in the long run, that's what you want, right? You don't want to have to be holding the hand of your quarterback. And I guarantee you that's not what is happening across college football. There's going to be a lot of hand holding going on, across college football, but that's obviously not what's happening at Notre Dame. So in that regard, I liked it. In the regard that I think she got a privilege that none of us will ever see is a bunch of nonsense.
I should have known Vince would just be jealous.
Yes.
Vince would do. It's like, you get a freaking peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Why don't I get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Why isn't it fair? We should all get a game where we get to have the helmet on.
I honestly felt like this is the best use of a sideline reporter ever.
Right? This
was actual literally getting to go inside the game. And like Carly, how do you say that? Carly later, I'm not exactly sure what that is. He says, isn't it pretty bad? He or she says, isn't it pretty bad that opponents know exactly what the quarterback is hearing from Denbrock? Well, you don't know it exactly. She's not telling
our
you.
Opponent's hearing what
he's not giving away any game secrets on TV. She's just telling, like how far up Mike Denbrock is going. And I thought that was really interesting. Like that you got to hear when Mike Denbrock is cutting himself off. He's cutting it off at 25 seconds. He can go all the way down to 15 as he wants. He's letting Riley Leonard actually process what he's hearing, kind of giving him a couple keys to look at. And again, you're not giving away any trade secrets by doing that, by doing that on TV. And I thought this was, again, like the coaches' interviews, how insightful are any of those, right?
None.
The coaches are
0.
literally standing there going, let me go. I want to go back to the sideline and coach. Like you were getting real insight
Yeah.
to how a team is using this. And I thought it was awesome. I thought it was really cool. And I agree. Now, would it be cool if we could do that? Of course it would. But I think it was cool.
Yeah.
That you literally are going inside the helmet and hearing what's going on in this thing.
And the other thing that I thought was interesting, because in last night's game with LSU and USC, you saw the guys holding up their hands to their helmets so they could hear better. I never saw Riley Leonard do that one time. So they must have figured something out that it was nice and loud.
Do they have volume control? Like, are they cranking that thing up?
I don't know.
Sure,
But like they must have figured it out, right? And he never had to put his hands over his helmet or anything like that. And the communication seemed to work out just fine. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works, throughout the season. Somebody asked how they get that to the helmet. It's going to be on the same frequency as the headsets. And those are all a special frequency that nobody else has, kind of like truckers and things like that. There are frequencies reserved for, the stadium and for those headsets that is given to them by the company. And then they dial into one of those frequencies so nobody else can have it.
Well, and at the start of the Alabama-Western Kentucky game earlier in the afternoon, one of the team's headset wasn't working.
Okay.
So they went, I think it was Western Kentucky's, and so they had to go to Alabama and say, Western's isn't working, so you guys have to take off the headset. You can't use them. Yep. And there was like it's like a 10-minute delay. It's just like, come on, just start the game, use the hand signals, let's go. Right. It shouldn't be a big conversation.
And most of the hand signals are more for like formations and things like that. It's not necessarily for the play call, but it's part of it. I mean, there's still going to be signals because now all 11 guys can wear the thing in their head. So it is difficult to get all that in.
So this is the one I think that a lot of us have been waiting for tonight. Brian Kelly had himself a little meltdown after Sunday night's LSU loss to USC.
Guys played their butts off tonight, and we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things, about not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's hilarious to me, though. Wait, sorry. Is there a question in there?
Go ahead. Okay. I was just throwing it up there on the screen. Go ahead with whatever you want.
So it's hilarious to me because I watched that clip like 4 times because the physical action of him like slamming his fist on the table and the audio in his voice, they don't match. Like, he doesn't sound upset to me at all. Like, he looks upset. Like, if I watched it without audio, he looks upset.
Yeah.
But then if I only listen to the audio, I'd be like, what was that noise in the background? Like, he doesn't sound mad. That's just, it's all an act. Like, you're an act, man. Sorry.
I don't know. They have lost their last 3 openers.
I'm sure he's upset. But like,
been there.
That just felt like a fake being upset, like for the media. You know what I mean? Of course he's upset that they lost, but like, I don't know. It felt like an act.
I just find it funny because he talked about not finishing the game. You know who did finish the game? Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Yeah, exactly.
Marcus Freeman.
Look, Notre Dame loses that game if Brian Kelly's the head coach. I'm sorry, they do. Because they weren't good at finishing games against top quality opponents. Period. And in hostile environments. They just weren't good at it. Right? Oklahoma in 2012 or whatever. I think that was 2012. They went out and they won that game. Like, it wasn't a comeback, and it was, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they win that game if he's coaching.
Pedantic DK is here. He says, last 5, Sean, but yes, 3 with BK. I mean, it doesn't matter what they did the previous 2.
Correct. I can't put that on him.
The conversation is about Brian Kelly. Come on.
That's what got the last guy fired. So
that's right.
I mean, somebody put in the chat, do you think Brian Kelly makes it through his 10-year contract? I say
I don't.
Not.
I don't.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly, 3-6 against ranked teams at LSU. Marcus Freeman, for whatever shortcomings he's had, is 8-4 against ranked teams. He's already played 12 ranked teams at Notre Dame. And like this conversation about SEC versus whatever schedule Notre Dame does or doesn't play. Think about that. LSU has played 9 ranked teams in Brian Kelly's first 2+ seasons. Notre Dame has played 12 in the same amount of time under Marcus Freeman. And Freeman has the winning record.
It means more in the SEC.
You're right. It does. It's just hotter down there.
It is.
So Clark Lee opened his 4th season at Vanderbilt by knocking off Virginia Tech. Better win for Vandy or worse loss for Virginia Tech?
I mean, it's not a great loss for Virginia Tech, obviously, but Vandy was home. I mean, it was a home game, right? And so you never know what's going to happen in the first game. But I think this is bigger for Clark Lee. I honestly do, because whether we like it or not, and whether he's an alum or not, I mean, he is somewhat on the hot seat because they can't win in the SEC, and they never will, on a consistent basis. But this is a huge win for him. It's a huge win. That's like I said, Virginia Tech is one of the kind of media darlings coming into the season with a chance to make some noise in the ACC and all of this. And Vandy's the bottom dweller on the SEC. This is a big win for Clark Lee. I'm going with that. I'm going on that side.
I think it's definitely a bigger win for Clark Lee. They only won 2 games last year, and we all know, like being Vanderbilt in the SEC is not an easy task. And this is in year 4 for Lee down there. They need to be, I think, at least 500 for him to feel good about his future down there. He went to the transfer portal. He brought in the guy from was it New Mexico State? Yeah, and he brought in Jerry Keel, and things at least for one game at least looked a lot different for them. They really needed, like Virginia Tech. I've never been sold on them as any kind of, whether it's even a dark horse or a legit threat in the ACC this year. So sucks for you to go on the road and lose, but it's big for Vanderbilt and it's big for Clark Lee. He's halfway to his win total from last year. It's a Power 4 opponent, and he really needed it, because they need something to build on. Because again, I think he needs to be somewhere at least in the 500 ballpark at the end of the season this year. So it's a good start for him.
Yeah, awesome. I was happy for him, and overtime and everything else that comes with it. Of course, they missed a field goal to win the game.
They did. They did.
Special teams. It's important, Sean.
Pushed it. Yep. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up on that. Vince is about 19 minutes away from another show. So appreciate you being here tonight. Would appreciate it if you would hit the like button, of course, before you leave. Upon Further Review with Vince and Brian is coming up at 7 o'clock, the live show. And of course, you'll be able to find it after the fact on all the platforms, whether it's YouTube or the podcasts or everything else. This season is off to a great start. Appreciate everyone has been here throughout, the postseason, and appreciate everyone who's come in now that things are off and rolling, and we'll have this content each and every day right here on the Irish Breakdown channel. So Vince, we're off to a fun start.
Yeah, we are.
To I think what's going to be a really fun season.
Well, like I said, it's always more fun talking about a W, and we're going to talk a lot about that W here in a few minutes. But this is going to be a fun week. Not only that, but also a very fun season. So I see a lot of W's, a lot of win Mondays coming up, and we're going to have some fun with it.
Yep. Tuesdays is a whiteboard day, and Jesse will drag his whiteboard in here, and we'll go over some stuff as well from the Texas A&M victory. We'll kind of look at some pluses and minuses coming out of that as he draws some of the stuff up. All right, Vince, good stuff. Have a good one tonight, and we will talk to you, everybody else, tomorrow, hopefully, on IB Nation Sports Talk.
See ya.